Hi, welcome everybody. Namaste. So please let me know if you can see my screen. I'm going to start here. Oh yeah, no, you probably cannot, but
No.
let's get this right. There, there we go. Muy bien.
There we go. Yes.
There we go. Okay, great. First thing that we're going to do is just take a moment to center. So wherever you are, take a comfortable sitting position. Close your eyes. Just start taking a few deep breaths. Inhaling and slowly exhaling. Activating the Ujjayi Pranayama. Lengthening the spine, relaxing the face. Inhaling here and now, and just consciously choosing to release any energy around anything that we haven't finished today, whatever it is. We'll take care of that later, and just bringing that fully present, feeling sit bones and the pelvis heavy, and feeling the chest uplifting. The slower the exhale and the more soundly you can feel the mind dropping. Let's bring the hands into a prayer and let's start with one mantra on together. Inhaling. Om. So welcome. Today we're going to revise the history and take a look on this yoga masters in the history of yoga. Let's repeat the Ganesha mantra. Let's do it twice. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. And Sarasvati, the goddess of knowledge. Om Aim Sarasvatiye Namaha. Om Aim Sarasvatiye Namaha. You can always read it with me if you like. And this you might want to read it. It's a little bit longer. Om Sahana Navaktu. So your turn. Om Sahana Navaktu. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Sahanao
Anao
Bhunaktu
Punaktu
Saha Viryam Saha Viryam
Viryam
Karavavahe
Karavavahe
Karavavahe Deshvaninaanistamastu Deshvaninaanidamastu Ma Vijavishavahe Ma Vijavishavahe Om Shanti 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we both teacher and disciple will be protected. May we together be fed. We'll work together with great energy. May the learning be bright. We never argue. Peace, peace, peace. And so now we're going to be talking a little bit about this. So we say that is about the yoga gurus. So these papers, I gave it to you in the first day. So again, this is like a layout, and I just wanna just talk a little bit how do we got here again. So let's revise this together. So we talk about that we have the Vedas. The Vedas are books of knowledge. There are 4 books, and they were written sometime between 5,000 and 205 years before Christ. And that has incredible information. So through that state of unification, they got the most incredible downloads, these yogis, and with the truth of everything. In this period, it was a lot about worshiping. It was a lot about developing that act of devotion into the gods and goddesses. And we also talk about the 4 margas, or the 4 paths of yoga, 1, 2, 3, 4. And here we see bhakti yoga, so that yoga of devotion, of doing all these rituals and this mood of serving with so much love and attention, because you are celebrating the gods, celebrating the goddess. And as you know, we want to treat the best, with the best offerings. So sometimes we said that in that time, so long ago, they were worshiping a lot of the elements. And if you come, for example, to this Bhakti ashram, if it's not this weekend, another time or whatever, we'll go there together. Sometimes in a special dates, sometimes they do like Vedic fires ceremonies, for example, right? And they offer all kinds of beautiful things to the fire. And we also saw that either other old civilizations, like the Incas, for example, or the Egyptians, they were also worshiping the fire or the earth, like Pachamama. So all this devotion of serving the gods, serving God, is the Bhakti Yoga, right? So is an exchange of energy, right? You offer your sadhana, your practice, your food, your water, the elements. You should definitely offer the elements in whatever altar you have. And if you don't have an altar, that would be another homework. So you must have an altar. And I will tell you what to do in this altar. Where are you guys? You gotta build a little altar. So what can you put in your altar? Maybe the picture of your ancestors, if you like so. Anything that is uplifting, like a white candle, maybe some stones, is your altar. You can put whatever you want there, right? But it's a corner in your house where has a spiritual charge energy, right? And I will highly recommend to offer some of the food, right? Is always well accepted, and yeah, you will be eating food that has that spiritual energy infused. But in your altar, again, anything that will go there and make you like do your meditation, do your prayers, is a sattvic space. So yeah, you can, again, whatever you like, whatever gods or goddess you have an inclination, Buddha, angels, you know, anybody that you want to do prayers right now. Like I have, my mom around there in my altar. And so anything that will uplift you. And this is, a little bit of this devotion, and eventually you will have some, hopefully some of these, features of whatever positive influence you have received. Like I also have picture of my teacher and all the other gurus that had given me initiation for respect. And when I am practicing in front of them, then I feel much better. I feel like connected with them, right? And even though one of them gave me initiation in Buddhism in Nepal, and he speaks Tibetan and I speak English, so I didn't really had a lot to share with him, but I have his picture. And again, to those enlightened beings doesn't exist time and space. So through a moment of connection, you can unify yourself with those beings, with those teachers. And yeah, so highly recommend to have an altar. Can be very minimalist, right? I have flowers in my altar. I offer sometimes rice and water in my altar, definitely incense and candle. I have a lot of stones, and sometimes I decorate my altar with stones, and even have stones heart shape, and I put all that everywhere. So yeah, you know something. But anyhow, let's continue then. Then we have the pre-classical time, and where we see it happens like 1,000 years afterwards, and we'll see Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita there are appearing there. And in the Bhagavad Gita is that conversation between God and you. You and God have a talk. That's why it's really important to read the Bhagavad Gita, because it's for you today, not 1,000 years before Christ. It's for you in this present moment, because it's a magical, divine book. So when you read it, it will be like, he's talking to me. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita is known as the Song of God. So we want to hear God speaking directly, and the Bhagavad Gita is one of them. But here we see the karma yoga. So Arjuna having all the panic attack. Remember, we talked a little bit about it, that he needed to find his family in a battlefield. Look what's, sounds familiar. Yeah, here is a battlefield, and in one side is, these beings that are corrupted by greed, with unfortunately had been contaminated by evil and demoniac personalities. And in the other side is Arjuna with his ethics. And so he has a panic attack. He tells Krishna was only his best friend. And that's another thing about bhakti, that you need to have a relationship with the divine a little bit more intimate, best friend, father, lover. So Arjuna was best friend, Krishna was best friend. And then when he's like chicken out, he's like, I'm not going to kill my brother. I'm not going to kill my cousin. This is crazy. I can spread that blood. No, they can call me a coward. I'm not doing this. Forget about it. War is over. I'm not doing it. And that when the Bhagavad Gita starts, that's the conversation that Krishna was like, no, actually, you are helping them to reincarnate faster because you are not killing anybody. Death doesn't exist. It's just a process. It looks like, to the eyes, but the body, again, the body is not real anyway. So you're not killing the soul. The soul will reincarnate, hopefully, with better life. And he's talking about dharma. He's talking, you're a warrior. It's your duty to go and protect the innocent lives of women and children. Go do that. This is your job in this life. You need to do it. And then eventually, as the conversation goes on and on, then Arjuna says, yeah, you're talking about the senses, you're talking about the layers of the mind, but how can you control the mind? The mind is not easy to control. So Arjuna is telling Krishna, all sounds amazing. How do you do it? Because, I'm freaking out here and I'm crying balls and I'm all over the place, right? Arjuna has a meltdown on the chariot, remember? And then Krishna is holding the horses, representing the senses. So then Krishna says, well, if you want to purify your mind, you need to do karma yoga. And that's where the connection. So if we do selfless actions to support the others for the benefit of the others, benefits of who? Who doesn't have as much as we have, right? If we have, again, 200 leggings and we're only using 30 leggings, give the other leggings away. Right? Because we have a lot of people that are in need right now, in need of everything possible. So if we have things that we are not using, is because someone doesn't have, the minimal. So karma yoga is basically charity. Karma yoga is helping without having that like, oh, are they going to praise me for it? Or look at what I am doing, right? Because if you do like, look at what I am doing, then is that ego gratification. So you should just do it to purify, to purify. Because when you do it like this, when you serve the poor food and you see they're so much in need and they're so grateful for that food, that you will feel blessings, like love coming, like love waves, it's like you definitely feel it. So that's what Lord Krishna says. If you want to purify your mind, you want to meditate, you're going to purify the mind. How you purify the mind? Karma yoga. Yeah. And then we also mentioned about the Upanishads, and the Upanishads are the last part of the Vedas, and they're considered more higher knowledge. And this is when they have that switch. They said, worshiping the sun and the fire is all great, but I want to understand who is the one that is worshiping, who is the individual, who am I, right? That was like more philosophical questions. What I'm doing here and why I deserve to be in this situation, all that. So here we can say the Jnana Yoga is coming up. Jnana Yoga is the yoga of knowledge, the yoga of the intellect. So anything related with like deep understanding and deep wisdom is coming from Jnana Yoga. And again, it's important Very important, because otherwise, if you don't have knowledge, you will be easy manipulated. You know, you have tendencies according to your background and where you were born and your family, and all that creates, like, impressions in your mind, and then you link towards that. But if you have deep knowledge, then you will know more. And actually, that's the funny thing of all this uh, fighting between religion, is that in the end, all is one. In the very end, all is one. It doesn't matter if it's who is the name, in the name of who, is one source, right? So that fight about my God is better than your God is definitely not based in knowledge. It's based on Maya, is based on illusion. And it definitely comes suffering, right? Definitely comes suffering. So in the deepens of all scriptures of the world, of all religions, it ended up talking about the source, the light, the one. And again, I don't know why we're not understanding. All right, so now let's continue. Then we have Jaina yoga, Buddhist yoga, and Hindu yoga. So this is more philosophy. Jaina yoga is one of the most ancient lineages of India, and is based fundamentally in ahimsa, in non-violence, compassion for all life, also that you are responsible for your own enlightenment, and that you can also be a God realized being. When I went to India, I saw these monks with their mouth covered, like a little veil, actually. And I thought it was because some virus, or something. And then they say, no, there are Jains yogis. And I'm like, what is the Jains yogis? And why do they have this thing? And they say, well, they don't want to hurt not even a fly. Se cubren la boca para que no entre ni una mosca. So they cover their mouth so they don't even want to hurt an insect walking in the grass. And I got to say a little bit every time I go to the forest, I got a little stick of wood. Excuse me, I'm coming in, permiso, entrando al bosque, I announce my, so the ants can move away and the little beans can move away, because I don't want to step in anybody. They have their life there. I'm an intruder. I'm entering the forest, that's their place. So in a way, they're very into, veganism and non-violence, and also like most sattvic possible, mantra, meditation, all things like that. Then we have Buddhism and Hinduism. One sec. Okay. So Buddhism and Hinduism, they are both originated in India, and they are very similar as well. Has a few differences, but essentially they are the same. Let's take a look. You can make two columns like this. For example, in Hinduism, they have thousands of gods and goddesses. So many, I don't even know. Thousands. And through worshipping these gods and goddesses, walking the Dharma, cleaning their karma, and doing all this, offerings, they can slowly become unified with that God, that with that goddess that they are worshiping, and eventually be able to arrive into enlightenment, where again they're connected with the source and enter the state of moksha or liberation. In Hinduism, we also have the concept of Brahma and Atman. Brahma is another name for God. Remember, God has many, many names. Ishvara or Shiva or Bhagavan. And Atman is the mini soul of God that is in your heart. So once you have that union, then you enter in a process of awakening and liberation. And then you merge with the light, merge with the totality of the Son, of God. And in Hinduism, they also believe in reincarnation. And in the same way that Buddhism, in Hinduism, like we were talking, they do a lot of offerings in their altars. So again, you can even, if you want to get into it, you can even buy little cups of copper. Copper is a noble metal that conducts energy, and you can put a little bit of rice, a little bit of lentils, a little bit of water. Actually, copper water is really good. So I also have a cup of copper, and I put the water in my altar, and I leave that water, as I do some mantras or I chant in the harmonium, and then the next day I drink the water, and then I serve more. So I'm like drinking mantras. So it has, so many things, but basically they offer all these elements. And yeah. So how we're going to get to moksha through Hinduism is, after discussed, has Raja Yoga. We have the Ashtanga 8 paths, or Hatha or Tantra. So how do you get liberation in Hinduism? Here you have 3 options: Raja, Hatha, and Tantra. We'll get to that in a moment. But through different practices, we ended up, again, waking up the energy and merging with that totality that we are connecting or invoking. Now, Buddhism doesn't have any gods and goddesses. It first was originated by Siddhartha. We also spoke about him, that he was a prince. And he was very curious about why is suffering, what is the root of the causes of suffering. And he actually came with the 4 noble truths. Life is suffering. There is a cause for the suffering, and there is an end for the suffering, and has a way that we can end the suffering, which he also has the Eightfold Path. Look at that. So we have Ashtanga Yoga in Raja Yoga, and we have the Eightfold Path in Buddhism. I'm telling you, keeps like hammering in your head until you get it. It's a little bit different, no? It's not exactly the same. By the way, I am in page 200 and 201 on your manual. If you want a marker with something, you can read it later. So the eightfold: right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right lifestyle, right effort, tapas, right mindfulness, mind needs to be sattvic, pure, and right dharana, right concentration. Very similar. So it's important for you to understand that even though it's very similar, not equal. Because if you happen to go to India or to go to any place and you're having a conversation about philosophy, you will know the difference between Vedanta and Upanishads. You know the difference on the four paths, even though they can integrate and synergize with each other, they're not the same. And even though Buddhism and Hindu yoga is very similar, not the same. So has little differences that is good to know, right? So they have a different approach for this 8 paths. Yeah. Again, it's on your manual if you want to read more, but I already mentioned. Actually has a chart here. Let's take a look. Look at that. There's a little bit of a 300 million gods, just in case you're not sure. And then in Buddhism, we also have the Ashtanga in a different way. In Hinduism, talk about Dharma and following, your mission in life. Here was founded by Siddhartha, which after he became enlightened, he is called Buddha. Yeah. And we have the law of action and reaction, connected also a little bit with religion, right? Because there's a lot of the caste system in Hinduism, which is, I'm not very fan of it. Remember, I think I also mentioned this, that Buddha was the one that once he became enlightened after 10 years of heavy tapas and austerities, he when he returned, because he was a prince and now he was an enlightened one, he was able to switch a little bit of the caste system and says, if you're the son of a priest, cannot be automatically a priest. You need to prove your enlightenment. You need to prove that you know the scriptures, and you need to prove that not only you know the scriptures, you need to enter that state where you become one with the source. Otherwise, it's just theory. And at the same time, someone was from low caste, they were able to access that information and also, hopefully get enlightenment. Again, in Hinduism, we call moksha, and in Buddhism, we call nirvana. Okay, nirvana. Same thing. Nirvana is the merge with nothingness. Moksha is the merge with all. Same thing. Another thing that I want to mention about Buddhism is that so in Buddhism is the foundation Buddha after Buddhas, the different enlightened ones. So after Buddha passed away, basically the elders was the one that will kind of like continue the lineage, but they have a problem actually. They argue. Yeah, I know. Even though Buddhism is all about compassion, and yeah, the younger followers of Buddha, they divided in 2 lineages, and you can also write this. And one is called Mahayana, Maha like Mahabandha, Maha Mahayana, and the other one is called Hinayana with H, Hinayana. Maha means big, and Yana is a little more like the small vehicle, like the big vehicle and the small vehicle. So the elders, they create this division in Buddhism towards Hinayana, which basically is saying the following. They stand for this. They say, in order for me to help others to become enlightened, first, I should become enlightened myself. Right? So once I become enlightened, then I can assist others in their process, but not before that. Which makes sense. Makes sense. And it's correct. But what happened? Imagine all these teachers, even Buddha itself. Buddha came back from the forest after 10 years. I got the enlightenment, I got the answers that I needed. Let me teach my people. So in Hinayana Buddhism, what happens is if you need to get enlightened first, you will be, doing the meditation retreats in the caves, in Himalayas, in Thailand. I mean, we have most of Asia is Buddhist, right? Dalai Lama is the one that carries the lineage today. And so you will need to become enlightened and then start sharing what you know with others. But let's be honest, it can take a whole life if you're lucky, right? You can be easily like Ramana Maharshi, 30 days in the cave, 30 years in the cave, and then get your blessings. That is a scenario, right? Now, the younger followers of Buddha, they create this other path called the Mahayana. Though the Maha is big, is the vehicle of Buddhism that involves more, and they say other thing. That's why they had an argument. So they say, in the process of supporting someone else to get enlightened, I will get enlightened myself, which is basically what I am doing. As I'm teaching you guys more and more about this Hinduism and Buddhism and Vedanta, I also get more enlightened in the process. So in a way, it's a little better because, oh my God, we need teachers and we need knowledge to be spread among the masses, and being in the cave and enlightened for yourself is amazing, but a little bit selfish in a way because it's just you and you, right? And again, nothing wrong with it, but we need teachers. We need the gurus to tell us, do like this, try this method. It worked for me. I got enlightenment in this path, and if you follow my steps, then you also will become enlightened yourself. So we need those words of encouragement, and we need the instructions from the Mahayana Buddhism. Then we have Tantrayana and Vrajayana, which is Tibetan Tantra Buddhism, which I got initiated through my guru, and you hopefully will get some contact about that. And this is also method for awakening, for alignment, and we're going to talk a little bit about what is this Tantra about. But so this Mahayana, this big vehicle of Buddhism, is going to involve, it's a more broad, right? It's going to be welcoming everybody to practice. And even though you are not enlightened or a guru, a master, you're still allowed to share what you know. And again, in the process, you get enlightened yourself. Okay, good.
Yes.
Let's go
So,
back.
wait, I have a question.
Mhm.
So, you know how you said that the Hinayana is
Mhm.
like the elders and then the Mahayana is the younger followers.
Yeah.
So is there like a big divide between the two? Like what's the vibes? Like is it like
I mean,
friendly? Like
yeah, I mean, it's not like they're in a war or anything. There's
no,
just,
no, yeah.
yeah,
I
this,
just like it's very different. Like the lineage, like the that idea, those ideas are very different. Like you can
yeah. So
only
there
one can
was
only teach when one is enlightened. And then I feel like the Mahayana is like not the opposite, but like it doesn't align with what they believe. So how is like the learning and like the dynamic between them?
they're both correct.
Yeah.
That's bottom
That's
line.
it. Bottom line, like both correct, like they both respect each other, like that's that.
But the goal is enlightenment, in
Yeah.
this case is nirvana is merging with the totality, which in Buddhism is more represented by a dark emptiness
Yeah,
than
like
pure light.
nothingness.
But they're both, again, they're both in intent to get there.
Okay.
So basically, the Hinayana Buddhists, they are going to be doing those solitary retreats more profoundly. They're not interested on sharing a lot until they have their awakening, which makes a lot of sense. Like,
Yeah,
why
it
I
does.
would be talking about something that I haven't experienced myself yet, uh, complete, right?
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But again, you has different stages of enlightenment according to the Yoga Sutras, different stages of samadhi. So someone could have experienced already close, not to the totality of enlightenment that you completely, disconnect, but also in a level that was sufficient, and maybe they're already very good scholars when it comes to the scriptures, right?
Yeah.
So this Mahayana yogis, Buddhist yogis, has they share, like for example, my Tantra master, he gave us all methods for enlightenment. He's like, I asked, and he said to us, I ask my teacher for permission because there are secret techniques only given to the monks in the monastery, which I was with them for some time. And it's a monastery. Like, you wake up, you do 3 hours of mantras, then 2 hours of mantras with sound, like a kirtan. They use bells though in Buddhism, then different instruments, but still with sound. And then some food, and then maybe some Zen walk, like walking and doing mantras. You're doing mantras all day. And then when you're not doing mantras, you are studying the scriptures, like learning about that, learning about this, all this, svadhyaya, right? So, and imagine you do like this. And by the way, my teacher said that if you want to become enlightened, this is for you, Malala. If you want to become enlightened, he said you can go to these monasteries, which you can. I think you can pay like $300 a month, $500 a month. And he said in 3 years, you can get enlightened living there. So it's possible, but how? You're going to just be doing the practice, right? So in the Mahayana tradition, like my teacher, they're sharing their information, right? They're sharing the information. We are not, I'm not as advanced as my teacher, but if it wasn't for him, I will definitely not be advanced at all, because who's going to tell me? The Hinayana yogis are in the cave for 30 years. So, it both makes sense. Both make sense. As I share the knowledge with others, I become enlightened in the process. So it's very much needed right now. It's very much needed. We cannot be just inside the cave. We need to be educating. We need to be spreading this information of awakening, of enlightenment, of self-development. So is needed. So this is a little bit the difference between Buddhism and Hinduism. So it's very similar. very similar, but a little bit different. Yeah? They're both, again, believing reincarnation. And in Buddhism also, they talk about the wheel of samsara. So in Hinduism, you have karma, the reaction of your actions. And in Buddhism, they have the wheel of samsara, which is literally a wheel that has all your lives and life cycles. And so, you do good, you're going to be good, better next life. You don't do good, you're going to descend, and you can descend to even different forms. That's why when I said you are already lucky there, you are human. Because if you were an animal, you will not have a choice. You will not have a word. Humans are the only species that have discernment, and they have the capacity to choose due to intelligence. The animals don't have this. They operate in instinct. So once you get a human body, you better do something that will really help you to ascend, right? But for that, according to Vedanta, according to Hinduism, we need to take the veil of Maya out of the body, out of the lives, and that includes the politics, the TV, the contaminated food, the stimulants and all this substance that are being, given to us. And oh my God, then how are you going to know yourself? You're like high in Maya, you're drunk in Maya. So let's continue, okay? Then Jnana Yoga, Buddhist Yoga, Hindu Yoga. From Hindu Yoga, we have these other three, Raja, Hatha, and Tantra. Raja is one of the paths of yoga. Remember, we have Bhakti, Karma, Jnana, Yoga of Intellect, and Raja. Raja is royal and is basically the study of the self through different techniques, but most of them are first to, understanding who am I through the mind. Because enlightenment, awakening, nirvana, moksha, whatever, is all about realizing the self. But in order to do that, you need to understand that you are not the ego. The ego is not your amigo. And the ego is judging and labeling and criticizing. It's almost like a little devil there. Right? So we need to educate the ego, purify the ego. And Raja Yoga comes with the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And inside the Yoga Sutras, what we have? The Ashtanga Yoga. Right? So purifying the body, purifying the mind is the key here. But you can say that these three lineages, they are connect with each other, right? You can write this down. You can say that Raja Yoga is the theory and Hatha Yoga is the practice. They go together. One is for the mind, one is for the body. Hatha Yoga, 1,000 years before Christ. This is with the Upanishads. Remember the Upanishads, they wanted to meditate for longer. And then Tantra Yoga, 300, 400 years after. And here's my little picture. So Tantra, Hatha, and Raja. So now let's see the difference, right? Write this down so you know, because knowing is power. Very similar. So in Hatha, which is what we are studying in this training as well, Ha is the sun and Ta is the moon. Sun, moon. Okay, is also here. Sun and the moon. That's the meaning of the word. Sun and the moon, right? So then we already studied this in energetic anatomy. We have centers of energy called chakras. And we have the nadis. Remember, we have Pingala Nadi, which is the right and masculine channel, if you like, because it's connected with the sun. And then we have the left, which is the Ida or Idala, which is connected with the moon. And they cross. They go like this, like a spiral, one side to another, making like the symbol of medicine. I forgot to put it here, but it would be nice to take a look on that. So in Hatha Yoga, you want to wake up the sleeping energy called Kundalini, which is basically on the bottom of your pelvis. Wake up your chakras and balance the sun and the moon, or as you wish, feminine and masculine. So far, so good. We all want to do that. Again, they complement with each other. And then we talk about Raja. Raja, I just mentioned. What is Raja? Raja equals Patanjali Yoga Sutras and Ashtanga Yoga. So is all the yamas and niyamas. How you're going to get enlightened? You have the 8 steps. You have what to follow. Those are the instructions. You should follow that. You should follow as much as you can the yamas and niyamas. Again, something happened, you had a mistake, okay, is the mistake, is the exception, but more, because that is the instructions for enlightenment, and you want to get there. Is your right. But so what is saying in Raja Yoga and Ashtanga? What is it saying? What is it saying, the yamas and niyamas? In order for us to get enlightened, well, we have 5 things. We can harm, we can lie, we can steal, we can be greedy. We need to have moderation. Then the things that we need to do. What was it? You got to put some fire in your practice, some tapa, some sacrifice. You got to purify everything. Your liver, your organs, your intestine, purify your body from the inside out, purify your speech, purify your mind. Completely like, like a goddess saint. And then we have to study. We need to always stay in a state of gratitude, santosha, of contentment, never complain. The more you complain, the more poor you get. Law. The more happy and grateful you are, thank you for this, thank you for that, the more, right? So we have all those instructions, right? And then eventually surrender to the divine. And then we have asanas. The asanas basically are keeping the body healthy. And I don't know if you noticed, but some of the yogas, they don't age. First, because they are mainly vegan and vegetarian. That really helps. So you see someone there 70 and they look like 45. Barely wrinkles, super energy, no disease, like that. That's the asanas for. Then we have pranayama, pranayama to control the mind, and so on and so forth. And you remember that, right? So in order for us to get into dhyana meditation, we need to get dharana concentration, right? And then after meditation, then we'll get into the samadhi state. We studied that, got that, okay? The Ashtanga is steps, good. Now, Hatha Yoga is saying something different. And let's see what they say. They agree with the Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali. They do. Although they say, wait a minute, let's be real here. They say, listen, you're telling someone not to have sex, not to drink alcohol, not to have meat. That is going to bring then a more nervous tension in their mind if they get all this like, don't do this and don't do that, you know, because it's like very like, yes, sir, right? Because the scriptures are very clear and they are, you know, strict, like no alcohol, no alcohol, no alcohol Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, like, oops. Like we talk about 2 exceptions a year, maybe. But the idea is that the idea is like we are now like, oh, let me just drink, because you're not a normal person. You are not normal. You are yogi. And yogis are extra special, extraordinary. You are out of the ordinary. Anyhow, Hatha Yoga says, in order for these people not have sex, not have alcohol, not have this, first they need to purify their body. Once their body is purified, then the mind will be more calm, and then they can follow that easier. And also it's true, you know, like I have students like, again, from Argentina, let's say, and the whole life eating meat, like no problem. And now they start like, wait a minute, actually, I do feel better without having meat every day. Actually, I feel much lighter, much more focused. I actually have more energy. So then they start, you know, thinking about this. So what Hatha Yoga says is in order to control the mind, or the mind to be more sattvic and follow these scriptures, we need to purify the mind, purify the body. And so these are six karma actions. In Ayurveda, we have pancha karma. Remember, we talked a little bit? Similar, right? Pancha karma. Here we have 6. Let's take a look. First is neti. Oh, look, I have my neti here. I'm not using that much lately, but definitely something you can buy in Whole Foods. This is a little pot, and then you put in one side. So what do you put there? Distillate super alkaline clean water, warm water, with a little bit of salt, Himalayan salt, or the best, everything the best, no? Because you put it inside your organ. And so you put in one side and comes out the other side. Super good too. Cleans all the mucus. You know, if you have mucus here, and some people have for many years, right? If you have a lot of mucus here, you will not be so sharp because, you know, it has all this green in there. And sometimes when I go to the ocean and it's like super clean, like you can even see the shade of your hand on the water. Sometimes I do it like that. I take a little bit of ocean water, I cover my nose, I snore the salt water. It does burn a little. And then I clean my nose, and then I do the other side, okay? But that's a little bit too much because sometimes the water is not clean. So this will be the savior. Now this is traditional yoga. This is Hatha Yoga, Pradipika. You also was recommended to buy the book, and you also have the book in the Dropbox. Then we have Kapalabhati. That you already learned is that fire breathing, moving the navel. That will definitely help to cleanse the organs, right? And if you have less shit in your intestines, less shitty thoughts, or something like that. Now, Doughty, I didn't try Doughty like that. Doughty, you will get a piece of cloth, when the ones they like the cottons that use like cheese, like a very thin cotton. And then you take this cotton very clean and you make it wet. It can be with milk or it can be with water, and you start swallowing this cloth. Start swallowing the cloth, and you can kind of clean the esophagus, and then you definitely vomit. Guys, so a moment you have that you're eating the cloth. Yeah, so it's to cleanse, and it guess what? It cleans the insides. It's almost cleaning your pipes, right? Nauli, I can show you another time. Today I already had some food in my belly, but Nauli is moving the intestines side to
Oh, you
side.
showed us that.
Did I?
You did it. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I
you did.
forgot. So that we can try another day in the morning time to try together. I want you guys to try as well. So that's another one. Basti is putting oil on your anus. Oil on your anus, like in Ayurveda. Ayurveda is also the same, but also has, we also talk about like, have you done a colonic? Like they put water in your anus. They put water in your anus and they start sucking all the poop that is stuck in there. If you need a recommendation, I have someone very near us that does colonics. So you just relax and the poop will come out. But it's something very good about, again, cleansing the organs. And it makes so much sense, right? Why are we all taking the best shower and the best shower products and products for the bathtub and this and that? What about the inside? When was the last time that you cleaned the inside? Probably never, because the society, modern society, doesn't teach us that. But yes, it has something about lubricating your small intestines with oleation, or sometimes we use water and like I said, even water and garlic if you have, right, some parasites and things like that. And if you eat sushi, you definitely have, definitely 1,000%. And that's okay, because everybody can coexist. Everybody, all your babies can coexist inside you. But know that if you like sushi and you know you have sushi, then you need to cleanse. You need to cleanse before they become bigger. So yeah, once a year, you do your cleanse. But remember, if you are yogi and follow yamas and yamas, then make yourself a vegetarian sushi that actually is super good and you can make yourself. Oh, wait, muy rápido. And then the last one is Tratak. That we'll try tomorrow in our meditation class. That is basically activating the pineal gland with light. Okay, so Hatha Yoga says, yeah, Ashtanga Yoga, sure. We follow Patanjali, sure. Yamas and Yars, 100%. Before that, they need to purify. They need to cleanse. Once they cleanse everything, then they will be more available to follow those rules. Yeah,
Doughty is very scary to me.
I know. I haven't done that, I gotta say. But in ayahuasca and the shamanic path in Peru and all that, purging is part of those.
Yeah. No, I understand the throwing up aspect, but the eating the cloth.
I
was
know.
scary.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I mean, these practices. And
Yeah.
the neti also has one that you can use like a piece of rubber. My teacher used with the rubber, and you put in one side of your nose and comes out in the other side. Or you can use the same cloth, but it's not easy. With the rubber is a little bit more, has a little more firm, and you're going to put in one side of the nose and another, and then you do like this. You fly your nose.
Oh.
It's on the books.
Oh my God.
I'm just passing the message. Right? So this is Hatha Yoga. And again, you want to be a yogi, you want to try at least a few of them. Okay, so we understand what Raj is saying, Hatha. Now, Tantra and Hatha is almost the same. The difference with Tantra, they're also going to use the chakras. They also want to work up the Kundalini. They also understand they have Pingala Nadi and Ida Nadi, right and left. And instead that the unification is happening with the sun and the moon, is happening with Shakti and Shiva, right? The moon and the sun is represented by Shakti, and Shiva here is Shiva, and this is Shakti. And the union happens of the Kundalini happens on the Ajna, happens on the third eye. And so in Tantra, the unification that will bring that alignment and is between Shiva and Shakti, between that female and male aspect of God. And yeah, it's like, very well respected. Back in the days, it was lineages that will only follow the Shaktis, and then also just the Shivayas, and then has another lineage where basically they're mixed, they're both worshiping Shiva and Shakti. And this is where we talk about, my teacher gave us initiation on that. And I think I shared with you a little bit. It was hours and hours and hours and hours a day, waking up each chakra. So I needed to make exercises with bandhas and with mantras and with pranayamas. And I will spin, until they become nice and big. Before that, I gotta empty myself and full of compassion and kindness. Again, sometimes you were like, oops, I need to do some forgiveness here. Before the Kundalini rises, and it should be pure love and compassion. And then eventually we'll do some movements, like literally like pelvic floor movements. Again, we are alone in a yoga mat. We don't have a partner. So we do these movements, and then eventually the energy comes up, the Kundalini comes up, and you have that, what we call the cosmic orgasms. That is basically a full-blown ecstasy of energy and just happiness and pleasure, and very similar to a regular orgasm, but just yourself in the yoga mat. Part of the Tantra also is called Kama Sutra, which is, I have a reading somewhere. I think it's 3,295, something like that. I'm not sure about the number now, but a lot of different yoga asanas for sex. So for that, so instead you by yourself in solitude with your mat and your altar and spinning your chakras, you will still do the bandhas and the pranayamas while you are in intercourse with your partner. So like your partner exhales, you inhale, and it creates like this circle of energy. Then both partners cannot be thinking about, oh, I want pleasure for me, I want to finish, I want this. No. Then both partners need to be thinking about enlightenment, union with God, and awakening. because otherwise, again, it's a selfish thing. I want to feel this, and it's all about union with God, right? So basically, the partner, the Shiva and Shakti, they are cooperating. They're in partnership to support their enlightenment process. And let's be practical. We have some points down here that sometimes, if your Kundalini is stuck, then your partner can help you, right? To like push those marma points, those chakras a little more deeply. And then you should have that cosmic orgasm as well with your partner. But again, being practical, you need to have a connection with this person, right? And it cannot be like, like some casual encounter. It needs to be in a committed relationship that both partners they have this goal. They want to achieve this awakening and like that. Okay. Now, because we are in this world of corruption and illusion, what do? They got all these sex poses and they say, well, maybe you can help me, but if you cannot help me, maybe this other person can help me. And now they have, Tantra courses and Tantra workshops and Tantra trainings where eventually, they are too much loose when it comes to like love all and less detach and be free, and becomes like a little bit of a temptation for orgies, like, okay, well, try with me and try with that, and we're all supporting each other here. But it's really bad, because if someone has a sexual trauma, right, you gotta be very careful because they might ended up more traumatized than they were before. It's called re-traumatizing, literally. Like you get another trauma on top of the trauma. So gotta be careful. I'm super old school. I don't recommend that. I recommend you wake up, in the Hinayana tradition, you wake up your own energy. Okay. Once you wake up your own energy, then you can, maybe try other ways. And if you have an amazing connection with your partner, has a maturity of understanding of what does it mean, conscious encounters, because Tantra is all about rituals as well. And what is the rituals? Is the rituals between Shiva and Shakti, like again, the mood of serving. So, the man is going to treat the women like a queen, like literally. Like I had an opportunity of a Kundalini teacher. He gave me a little. He proposed marriage to me, and then he said, so the only thing is like we can only kiss and have more after 1 year, and after 1 year we get married and that's it. And I was like, oh my God, that 1 year. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. So, but I was like open to experiment. So we just spent a lot of time together. I mean, this guy will massage my feet. He will make me bathtubs with red roses. He will wait in my house with flowers, chocolate. I mean, I was a queen. And this is a little bit of Tantra. So in the same way, you also going to worship Shiva in your partner. And Shiva is one of the gods of yoga. So you need to see your partner as a god, and your partner needs to see you as a goddess. And that is the treatment. So it's a lot of like, serving the other and loving. So the last thing that I will say about Tantra, according to the words of my teacher, he said that in Tantra, when it is a couple, first, he said that couples can sleep on the same bedroom, but different beds. because he said that you need to be present all the time. And when you're sleeping, you need to be sleeping. That's it. That's what it's for, to sleep and relax. If your partner goes to the bathroom, drinks water, coughs, farts, wakes you up, then your sleep is interrupted. And then sometimes you cannot go to sleep so easy, right? Okay, that's one rule. Then the other is that you don't have sex the whole month. No sex. I know if you're married, blah, 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 complicated. You don't have sex the whole month. But when it comes the full moon or whatever other day you feel energized about it, you're supposed to be together for like 24 hours having sex, kind of. And now it's impossible for the men. The men don't supposed to come because he loses his power. The women, no problem. She can enjoy herself, right? So the man is an art. That's why I'm saying that it's not for everybody. And then it's not just sex, right? So you are and your partner 24 hours. My teacher even said, we even call food delivery because you don't do anything else than connect with that partner. 24 hours, no distractions. So basically what it's saying is instead quantity is a quality of the encounter, right? So then you guys massage each other, have intercourse, get tired, rest, do some meditation, some pranayama, sharing moments, sharing, listening, deep listening, right? Maybe again, some food, and then you repeat everything again. Back to the same, back to repeat, right? Massage, intercourse, pranayama, meditation, sharing, mantras, food, rest, wake up, repeat. So what's going to happen after you have so many, right? Some things are going to start moving in there, right? Instead having the classical quickie that again, you're bored, you don't know what to do. It's Thursday, it's Saturday, the day is raining, so we do one, but it's not conscious, it's not present, it doesn't have massage, it doesn't have deep listening, so we are trying to use everything in a yogic way, right? And then a lot of gentlemen, they don't know anything about this. Not their fault. I mean, they never be taught. But for a female, right, it's much better when the Shiva worships the Shakti, and just how do we open? We open from the heart, right? So just talking to me and being there and maybe even feeding me, like that's going to be like, whoa, that's already kind of part of the intercourse, right? And I don't know why we're like having a sex class, but yeah. So the idea is that, you can wake up your chakras and allow Shiva and Shakti to have their union on your third eye, alone or with a partner. Okay, so you find your way. Yeah. So, okay, let's continue. Okay, here are the master of masters. So you also will have another homework about Krishnamacharya. Krishnamacharya, again here, born in 1888. He is considered the teacher of the teachers. He was an excellent yoga master. He really got to the maximum levels of yoga. He actually practiced many, many years with his teacher, like in the Hinayana way, in a way. He was many years in the caves. After like 15 years that he was with his teacher every day training, then his teacher said, okay, I think you're ready. It's been 15 years. I think you can share some. He was an Ayurveda doctor. He was a philosopher. He knew about history. I mean, he was just like outstanding. And he had an ashram, like I also mentioned, with many kids. And from those many students that he had, he was the teacher of these three masters here. So the first one here is Patabi Joyce. We also mentioned that he was in his ashram here in Mysore, and here in Mysore, there in Mysore. And he was, pretty athletic, very strong. And when he left the teachings of Krishnamacharya, he developed what we know Ashtanga Vinyasa. Ashtanga Vinyasa is not to be confused with Ashtanga Yoga, okay? And you will have a question in the test about this. What is the difference of Ashtanga Vinyasa and Ashtanga Yoga, and who wrote it and when? So you will say, well, Ashtanga Yoga is about the 8 steps of illumination by Patanjali, some time 200-300 years before Christ, we are not sure. Then Patabi Joyce, he developed Ashtanga Vinyasa around 1980, 1990, and Ashtanga Vinyasa there are sequences of asanas that cannot be changed. So you have Ashtanga Vinyasa first series, second, third, fourth. And of course, the first one is really already hard because it has both feet behind the neck, has a Marityasana D that you gotta twist and do a lotus. So a lot of people never goes to second series because it's just not possible due to their different body shapes and bones, sizes, and all that. They don't use props. And they have 1,000 push-ups. It's like Chaturanga, upper dog, downward dog, one pose. Let's say Janu Shirshasana on the right leg. Again, push up, upper dog, downward dog. Janu Shirshasana, one pose in the other leg. And like this you go. So you definitely get super strong, right? So Ashtanga Vinyasa really good for that. And it's always the same. It's literally like military service. Like you cannot change. So I studied with him in Mysore and with his daughter. Then last year, his grandson, Sharat, that was holding the lineage, passed away. And we all know he passed away suddenly. It was probably something about the heart, about some of those COVID vaccines. Okay, because he was just walking in the forest after a huge train and he just died. No cause. Anyhow, his son was excellent yogi and teacher. And these yogis, they wake up 3 a.m. to practice. And I told you, I was waking up at 3:30. 3 a.m. to practice until like 6, 7 a.m. every day. In Ashtanga Vinyasa, they don't practice when it's moon days, like full moon, because they said the energy is so strong that you might have more chance of injuries. Yeah, so Ashtanga Vinyasa, what is it? It's always the same. So what is this style is good for Vatas, no? Because Vata is so all over the place. What to do now? If you do Ashtanga Vinyasa, you will get strong and you will focus because it's always the same. So you will memorize the sequence. I needed to memorize. When you go to Mysore, you have like 4 a.m. a group goes, 4:15 a group goes, 4:30 a group goes. Then when you enter, everybody's on different portion of the sequence. There's no teacher. No one is guiding. You need to know the sequence. And then the teachers come. If you are stuck in Dakurmasana, I got really lucky because I'm very flexy. So they just cross my ankles. That's it. And I could do the whole thing because sometimes I say, well, no, you stop here. And then you got to stay there longer and longer until you can do the whole thing. And then my present teacher nowadays, we do like positions of third series or even fourth series in one single class, because basically is to develop yourself quicker and have a Kundalini awakening faster. And if you are capable, if you are prepared with your body and it's possible for you and your practice and your level, why not? You know, you don't need to practice so much or so many years to advance. Anyhow, so you know, he was accused of molesting students inappropriately, and I'm not going to show you, but we do have the picture of Patabi Joyce putting his fingers in inappropriate places in Karnapidasana. You know what Karnapidasana is? When you come from Halasana, from shoulder stand, and then you bend the knees. Oh,
Like the plow pose?
huh?
The plow pose? Or like the plow and then you bring the knees here? That one?
That one. So he has a picture of putting fingers in the wrong place. Now, once one student spoke, then many spoke. So the problem,
Women?
I'm sorry?
Was it women?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's not good.
Sexual inappropriate behavior. So the problem is, you know, let me tell you, you have, you know, 1,000 females at your feet with small shorts and guruji. Why it did is unacceptable, of course, and definitely proves that he wasn't, he just got corrupt by some lust, you know. So I don't know if you got enlightened after all, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, does like those actions definitely take away from your ability to become enlightened?
yeah. Now we have a very famous yogi here in Miami. Her name is Kino McGregor, and she is amazing. She's an incredible teacher, incredible practice. But when this happened, she basically put down all the pictures of her teacher down. You know, because it's an idol that falls, you know, and you can't ignore many women, sharing the same testimonial. And of course, us as females, we definitely need to stand for values. And I told you what happened. The Ashtanga teacher did the same to me. And I was like, it was so uncomfortable. I was like, oh my God, my fingers are in the wrong place. No, you know, you're supposed to quiet the mind. Imagine how I felt after that. Right. So this is not uncommon. So what happens? Remember, I think in the first day I told you this, and I will repeat it. Once you become advanced in your yoga practice, you have two choices. You will get yogic powers. You will be able to influence people's mind. You will be able to have telepathy, astral projection, maybe projecting your body, flying in the sky. I mean, all kinds of stuff, right? When those powers start showing up for you, you need to remember your dharma, yamas and yamas, right? So you need to make a decision. Do I want these powers for the benefit of all sentient beings, or would I use these powers to my own benefit? Right. And so, unfortunately, after many years, he had this sleep, or I don't know if it was just one, it was many. And this is what happened, right? So he made the wrong choice, basically. But the Ashtanga Vinyasa method is really incredible. Again, very powerful, not for everybody. If you have injuries, forget about it, because you're going to end up with more injuries. And the fact that they're repeating the movements many times, I mean, if you do like push up, every day push up, you might start developing inflammation in some of your joints, right? If you're doing the same, shoulders, the wrist, some of the knee positions are, gotta be careful. So, not for everybody, but definitely it's nice to, again, get into the flow. I practiced Ashtanga Vinyasa for my first 5 years, like I was really happy with it, but really focused. My practice was amazing. So it was, it worked for my mind, right? I was no thinking, and it works. Now the other student, actually here is, the other student was Iyengar, BKS Iyengar. We also mentioned that he was dating the sister of Krishnamacharya. He was always sick. And his wife said, hey, why don't you study with my brother? He is a yoga guru and yoga is really good for your health and you should do it. And he's like, okay, I'm tired to be sick. I'm always sick. So he did it. He was a little older, but when he came out from the ashram, he created Iyengar Yoga, which is all the therapy yoga, all the restorative, all the chair, the blankets, the blocks, the belts, the wall, is all Iyengar creation. He also used some hooks, and you can hook yourself to the wall and hang, which is really good. So he made yoga more accessible if you have someone that, was a senior or was in some type of, injury, and, you needed a blanket there. There are all very tough teachers. Again, because of this caste system, they was very blindly obeying the teacher. We don't see that anymore. Otherwise, I will have all of you guys in class today. But Iyengar got really hurt when Krishnamacharya was doing one of the demonstrations to the king, and he did the split, and then he got really hurt. And then from that, he created this Iyengar Yoga, which is used in the whole world. And then when he was doing these shows for the royalty, one time was this family coming from, I think, Russia and Yugoslavia, and was Indra Devi and her parents were with the king watching these yoga shows. It was almost like a circus show of yoga asanas, and she got mesmerized by this yoga. She was like, oh my God, I really want to learn this. And because of the caste system, it was all men doing this. It was not women before, right? Women belong in the kitchen, taking care of the kids and the food, and the men had other activities like, doing this type of Raja Yoga and developing themselves, becoming like warriors. And she just wanted to learn yoga. She was like my goal center. So she went to Krishnamacharya and said, hi, Guruji, please teach me yoga, please. I really want to learn. And he mocked her. He made fun of her. This is not for women. What are you thinking? Get out of here. And, basically brushed her out. But because her parents were friends with the king, like Mysore in Bangalore, she was her charming, and she said to her parents, can you please ask the king? I really want to learn yoga. So then the king told Krishnamacharya, hey, you need to teach Indra Devi yoga. And then he couldn't refuse, it's the king telling you a direct order. And he's like, yes, sir, of course. So she came to the ashram. It was the only female, and he made her life hell. He gave Indra Devi all harder sadhana and more complicated, practices, and just more austerities and more tapas. So she could give up. And just, he was sure she's not going to do this. But he mistake, and she did everything. And so she is the first female yoga teacher of the world, Indra Devi, born in 1899. She also eventually she went to Asia, she went to Yugoslavia, she taught yoga there to some, big high class as well. Then she ended up in Mexico. She had an ashram there, and then she died in Argentina. She ended up having a lot of different ashrams in Argentina, and she moved there and she stayed there. And she teaches like a style, like I would say, like integral yoga, like blending the different paths. But I mean, amazing, definitely enlightened one. And then we have a few more that we gotta mention. Well, we have Paramahansa Yogananda. He is the he wrote that book of the autobiography of a yogi. And he was coming from a high class, actually. He was coming from high class. His parents were, very successful, a good job, like good class. But his parents was, even though they were, in the working class, they also were doing a lot of spiritual activities in their home. And more his son, moved towards that. And then he eventually got introduced to an Indian guru that introduced him to Kriya Yoga. So Kriya Yoga is working with one avatar called Babaji, that it looks like Jesus. Babaji and Jesus are very similar. And Babaji is this God, let's say, that whole Kriya Yoga, and Paramahansa Yogananda was under that lineage. And he also found the Self-Realization Fellowship. So he basically is responsible for bringing yoga to the West. So he, because if he was from high class, he ended up talking about the yoga scriptures to like, one time he was in a convention with like 30 different presidents of 30 different countries. So like a big deal, like a big convention, all these high politicians, we're talking about presidents, and he was there talking about Patanjali and the sutras and the mind and meditation and all that. And then eventually he ended up in LA, and he opened an ashram in LA. So he had many of the Hollywood stars as students. But definitely you want to read the autobiography of a yogi. He also has a movie called Awaken on Netflix. So again, all about brahmacharya moderation. If you want to watch something and, basically not think, you can still watch things about, enlightenment and gurus, and, very, very cool. And then we have the Sikachar. The Sikachar was the son of Krishnamacharya. And this is my opinion. I'm not, this is what I think. Please don't take it literally. What I think is that basically, Krishnamacharya was in this ashram surrounded by all these kids. And I think deep down, the Sikachar felt a little bit maybe left out. Maybe he felt his dad wasn't there for him as much as he probably wanted. He actually moved, and he was studying to be an engineer. So he actually took another path, he was going to school. But what happened when Iyengar, Indra Devi, and Patabi Joyce started teaching all around the world, the whole world got to hear the name of his dad, Krishnamacharya. Krishnamacharya is the master of the masters. So his dad became so famous, so he decided to, after some time, follow, the father teachings, and he also created a school, and he also wrote a book called The Heart of Yoga. And he teaches Vini Yoga, which, is a little based on what Krishnamacharya was teaching, is a mix of yoga and texts and spiritual homework. And Krishnamacharya was teaching a style called Krama Yoga. That was the style that Krishnamacharya was teaching, Krama Yoga. So what is that? He will custom make the practices for each student, right? Because not everybody's the same, right? So if you are Vata, you want to kind of always do the same practice so you can focus your mind, right? If you are Kapha, a little bigger, a little more lethargic, then you want to do something that is going to make you sweat it out, anything that allows all those, lose the weight so the person becomes more, high speed, let's say. And then if you're Pitta, you already have the fire, so you might want to do some more hatha practices or more like cooling, because you already have a lot of fire. So Krishnamacharya was custom made for each student a specific practice according to Ayurveda, according to their personality and their capacity. And what else? I think that's it for today.
That's very interesting. Does anybody nowadays do that? Wait, what was it called again? That he custom makes a practice for each different
Krama
person.
Yoga.
Krama?
Krama Yoga. Yeah. He had different sequences to the different doshas.
Because that's really awesome and interesting.
Right.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's just like, again, it's because a little bit of the tradition is going down in the sense that the relationship between teacher and disciple, people don't take yoga so seriously. So how can I have a relationship with a student I see once a month? I can even work with them. Like, yeah, well, whatever you come, but you saw the other day, I gotta ask, so how you feeling? Do you have any requests? Are you working on something?
Yeah.
Because I don't see them that often, right? So the most important here is that commitment is the commitment in everything. Is the commitment in Tantra, is the commitment in Hatha, is the commitment, is the discipline, right? Discipline. So the students also need to have that constant practice, and then you can see beautiful results. But I wanted to show a little bit of those masters. And which one we didn't do? Let me see if I can find him really quick. Well, we didn't talk about Shivananda, and also in that first slide you have Maharishi Mahesha Yogi. That's another enlightened master from 1942, and he wrote this book, which I recommend, called The Truth Will Set You Free. And that book is like amazing. Then you have Swami Rama, that actually ended up in Pennsylvania, opened an ashram, and he found the Himalayan Institute of Yoga Science and Philosophy. But guess what? He also had some problems with females. And Ravi Shankar, I just saw him at one of the hotels here in Miami, like 9 months ago. He came for a convention, and very beautiful, beautiful guru. He also was the student of Maharishi Mahesha Yogi that I just showed you. So his disciple, and the founder of Transcendental Meditation. Transcendental Meditation, I will talk a little bit about tomorrow. But yeah, he created that. Sadhguru, everybody knows Sadhguru. Very cool guru as well, because now he's everywhere. I mean, I think that he has a huge marketing team, but he has the Isha Foundation, and they're all based on scriptures. So that's what we care. When someone is teaching us something, when you're going to do a training, what we want to know is like, what is the lineage? Who is the guru? And what is this based on, right? So they're all, so Sadhguru, not only he's cool, but he's respecting that. Yogi Bhajan also has some issues with females, but he was holding the Kundalini Yoga before, and you will try Kundalini Yoga the other weekend. Very, very amazing. Shivananda. So Swami Shivananda is the one that I didn't include on the presentation, and I'm sorry about that. But Shivananda was another guru that he works with integral yoga. This is the guru that I am part of the lineage through integral yoga. And he also had many ashrams, and now he has Shivananda Yoga School Vedanta centers everywhere. I mean, if you want to go to India, you can always be safe at Shivananda Yoga ashrams because they are traditional. They are following Vedanta. This is how I learned Yoga Sutras. This is how I learned Vedanta from the Shivananda Yoga teachers. And my first teacher from my first training in 2007 was from Shivananda lineage. And again, the Shivananda has a difference on the sequences. They do like the closing asanas in the middle of the practice, but they definitely follow the 4 paths. So this is what we want. And then we're going to visit this center here in Miami. Let me just show you. That is the last foundation. So this is Swami Ji. Can you see him?
Yeah.
Swami Ji, this is where we're going.
Wow.
I'm going to, this is an ashram. This is definitely an ashram. So you don't even need to go to India. Let me just see if I can, how can I put this on the chat? Chat. Okay. So we're going to go to the ashram on Ganesha Chaturthi. Let's see if it's here. Monthly events. Swamiji. And so this is this Saturday. I'm going to go to both. I'm going to go to one and then the other. And then Ganesha Chaturthi. This is the one that I'm going to take you guys. You see?
Yay!
That
I'm
day
excited.
we go around, we're going to have some fun. And so this is Uma Devi. She's a disciple of the Guru Swamiji for 50 years. For 50 years, all she wants to do is serve her Guru. They live there in this property and they live to serve the Guru. Everybody does something. And here is Swamiji with Shivananda. See?
Aww.
So you will get a direct connection. Swami Shivananda, Swami Jyotivananda, which is Swamiji. We call him Swamiji because it's a little cuter, it's a little easier to pronounce. Swamiji. So he's been doing yoga since here, a little bit of this history. He was a young age. And again, all he does is yoga 24/7. Since he was like 15. And now he's 90. So he has 100 years almost of yoga all day long. And look, he has so many books and so many videos. Let's see what the video. I learned a lot of the Yoga Sutras with him. And he has a YouTube channel. Look, all those Dharma. You have Bhagavad Gita. You have Transcendentation. Here we go. Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta. So you can just hear him talking, because for basically 60 years, the ashram is in Kendall. And he gives classes all the times. Let's see what is the classes. And they also have a huge yoga center now in Kendall. It's un poquito lejos, a little further away, but they're also looking for teachers, right? So the Ramayana, Pranayama. So he has a lot of materials. It's like, it is an ashram, but look, Ramayana, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta. So you have an ashram right here. Yay, we can go. Yeah, I will definitely recommend you guys to sign up for the magazine. I think it's like $20 a month or something like that. And you get this magazine on your house by mail with all this Vedanta stuff, Upanishads, Pranayamas. And it's also in Spanish, by the way. You can also request it in Spanish. So super good. Oh, look, it has other Vedantic masters. Let's see. Oh, look, all the masters. This is Ramana Maharshi. Ramakrishna, Ramana Maharshi. So that's what I like also from the ashram. It's not religious. You go there and you have Jesus and you have Buddha and you have all, it is such a beautiful place. So definitely amazing. So this is where we got Amo Sivananda about the ashram mission. Look how beautiful.
Wow.
So we walk around this area, has like little benches. We walk, and what do? Mantra. We walk and we do mantras. Or you sit here next to the water, quiet, mantra, meditation. And so now, because after the COVID, he doesn't talk so much, not like before. So he will probably come out and just give us what we call kumkum. He will give us like a little blessing. And that's about it. Yay. So I've been there many years, helping and sometimes singing. They're always asking for volunteers to serve the food, to clean, like karma yoga, like in anything. So, well, I hope you are excited as much as I am. We have enlightened masters so close to us, only half an hour. Authentic master, thank God he never had any problem with anything. So that is great. He actually was married with an American. That's why he came here. And she was also a yogi, and she passed away. So, sannyasi, brahmacharya, the whole life only for yoga practices. And we want to be close to these masters, So that's all for today. I hope you enjoy it, and I can't wait to continue. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we can meet at 5, if that's okay. We have a meditation class at 6. So you can practice a little bit, and then afterwards we do the meditation class.
Perfect.
That's good.
Okay, gracias.
Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Thank
See you guys
you.
tomorrow.
Om Shri Krishna.